Dr. Loreto Jackson, Clemson Associate Athletic Director, who works with our student athletes here, and she's actually joined us in studio. So, Dr. Jackson, thanks for being with us on this Valentine's Day afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
And let's just talk about a little bit of your bio and actually born and raised, I believe, in Northern Ireland. How you got here up in the upstate of South Carolina to Clemson?
Oh, how long do you have? But yes, I was born in Belfast and actually got my undergraduate degree there, and I came to this country to get my master's degree. And I was very fortunate, I have been very fortunate in all my years here, that every place I've been, they kind of created a job for me, so I couldn't turn that down. So at Delaware, they created a job for me. I decided to leave and get my doctorate at the University of Miami. They created a job for me. Moved to Clemson with my husband, and Terry Don created the position that I'm currently in. That's evolved quite a bit, but Terry Don's our former athletic director. And here I am. That's the quick synopsis of how I got to South Carolina from Belfast.
Right. Well, let's just talk a little bit about that position that was created by Terry Don Phillips, and what you do specifically here at Clemson for our student athletes.
Right. It's a really interesting position. We were the first university, Division I university, to have such a position, and it's evolved quite a bit. It was back in 2005. TD started it because he had a concern that he didn't want student athletes falling through the cracks. Coaches coach and trainers train, and academic advisors look at academic stuff, but he wanted somebody in place that was going to put all of those things together and, look for red flags and get help for them before things might have got out of control. And also he wanted one person in place where he could go to that knew all the information on one student athlete, so he wouldn't be making 12 different phone calls. And so it was really a fledgling idea. I was by myself. I wore a lot of hats. We didn't have a nutritionist at the time, and my background, I'm an exercise physiologist, sports nutritionist, but I'm not an RD, so I was doing nutrition. I was doing a lot of things myself. So over the years, it's evolved. We now have a full-time nutritionist, and the current athletic director just gave me a graduate assistant to help her. And, my program has really grown. We still, under me, or within my program, I still look at, well, let me just give you a list. I actually wrote it down here of all the things we work with student athletes. The nutrition, as I mentioned, supplements, body composition, substance use and abuse, the mental health aspect of student athlete. We have a great relationship we just developed this last year with Redfern, and actually have a counselor in Redfern for our student athletes. We've had a sports psychologist on board for quite a while now, Dr. Lauder. Let me see what else is under this. Conduct and behavior. I've always had conduct and behavior where I'm the point person if anything happens, that we get information out and help manage the whole situation. And then since our new athletic director came on board, he has given me some new duties that used to be over in Vickery Hall. And that's leadership development, personal management, career development, and community engagement of the student athletes. And finally, I'm the department crisis manager and serve on the university's crisis team and other committees in the university. So it sounds like a lot of stuff all over the place, but what I like to just say is dealing with all the issues off the field to keep the student athletes on the field.
Exactly right. And let's just talk a little bit about how, some of these athletes come in, some of them come in from rough backgrounds and things like that, how you teach them to know, how important it is to take care of their bodies. And when, especially like football, just go to that example. I mean, they take just a beating all fall long, but how important it is during that off season to get prepped for it and how to take care of themselves.
Well, certainly, it's very important. And, we've got a lot of supports in place for our student athletes. Our athletic training, our sports medicine is terrific. Our strength coaches are terrific. And now with the nutrition and the mental health coaching, they're two vital aspects that support everything that they do. You cannot train at the highest level or recover from injury if you're not properly fueled. And that's probably one of the hardest things to teach these student athletes. But now we have someone who is there full-time. We have a training table for football, which is a great lab environment, actually. So they're really beginning to make some changes. They can't come back from injury if they're not properly fueled. But I've seen it, especially in male athletes from the youngest age. They all want to take supplements and they all want to do something fast to get their body where they want it to be. And really, they just need to eat. So to teach these players that they need to eat 5, 6, 7 times a day, it's really daunting. It's a daunting task for them. And then the whole mental health aspect. As I said, we've had this sports psychologist in place, but you can't really focus on the skill development mentally if there are other issues that you need to deal with, such as anxiety and depression. Issues that are very common in college students, but they're magnified in student athletes because of all of the unique pressures that are on them on top of just being a student. So it's huge. Our coaches are buying into these services we have. They use us very heavily, and honestly, I can see this whole program that's under my umbrella just growing, getting stronger.
Yeah, you talk about the program growing. Go into that a little more. Tell us about the rise of this position that you have. Tell us about the rise of it at other major universities and other teams across the nation.
Yes, it looks a wee bit different in different institutions. But as I said, when we first started back in 2005, a lot of colleges, universities were calling me asking how it worked. And there have been different evolutions of it now. Notre Dame's got a performance program, Stanford, UCLA, Ohio State University, and all of them look a little different. Some of them use sports medicine as the key and everything branching out from that. Others use strength and conditioning. Ours is really unique in that I like to say that we use it's a definition of wellness that I've used at the University of Miami and elsewhere, and it uses 7 components that you need to have well balanced in your life, and those are intellectual, emotional, physical, global, social, spiritual, and occupational. So I look at us providing support in all of those areas, because if you don't, you can't be well and you can't perform at a high level. And other institutions are looking at that too. They just do it a little bit differently.
Right, it really is a growing field, not just only in Clemson, but throughout the nation. And you were talking a little bit earlier about, teaching these guys to take care of themselves. And I guess they also, can come to you if they're dealing with some off-the-field issues or things like that. That's important too. They got to get it off their mind in a way too.
Right, and handle it, and a big part of it. And I'm not the only one. For instance, in football, they have player development experts. They've got Jeff Davis and James Trapp, but this is just another aspect. Since I am kind of the liaison with the university, I can help them seek support and resources that the university offers. And you're right, if they get into a wee bit of trouble, I can help them navigate that, knowing just all of the different things that they need to go through. A lot of people don't understand when a student, let's say, a regular student gets in trouble, they have to deal with the law and the university's conduct issue. When a student athlete gets in trouble, they have to deal with the law, the university, the department, their coach, and as somebody once told me, and now he has to deal with his mama. So they have a lot of things to deal with, and it can get confusing for them. So what we're finding, I'm not finding, I know that the people that work with me, it's all about building trust, and for these student athletes to know that we really do care about them. We're not out to get them. We're not out to torture them with programs, but this is about them. And we're here for them. They just need to reach out, and if they're not ready to reach out, we need to know them well enough so that we reach to them.
And that's exactly right, because, I have ultimate respect for these guys that are, not just, come with a student, you have a lot of things going on, but student athletes, it's just unbelievable the way these people today, that they're able to balance and find time for everything, and, just ultimate. That's why it's important for people like the students to get out there and support those guys, though, no matter what sport it is, because I think it really reflects back to them. It shows, how much the university cares about them and stuff like that.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And believe me, our student athletes appreciate the fans here at Clemson, and there's nothing better than going to a game or a match and looking up in the stands and seeing Clemson students there. And we've done a really good job. Another thing that's under me that I didn't mention is sportsmanship, but the university itself has done a brilliant job in marketing the solid orange and the wearing orange to events. And believe me, it means a lot. It means a lot to those student athletes when they look up and they see their peers there supporting them and cheering for them.
Right, and just talk a little bit about what you guys are working on in the future here, and what you guys do in some of the off season and some of these sports, if you could, for our listeners.
Well, the program as it is right now is continually evolving. As I said, Dan, our new athletic director, gave me all of these new areas, and what I'm really trying to do is put it together in a meaningful way and challenge my staff into looking at how we can do things differently. We recognize that student athletes don't have very much time. We also don't want to waste their time, but know that there are specific things that they need to be doing. And we're really challenged as to how to present some of these materials and programs and services in a way that's meaningful to the student athletes. So I'm challenging my staff into thinking about not how much we're doing, but what is it that you want to achieve? And every time they come to me with something, the question I'm going to ask is, what's the outcome? What's the point of this? For instance, it's typical that somebody will come to me and say, this guy's a brilliant speaker. You got to bring him in to talk to the student athletes. Fair enough. The question I ask now is why? Where does it fit into this whole wellness model that we've developed? Where's it going to help? And we're also looking at, instead of just doing, which is very typical in universities across the nation, mass education programs where we hit all student athletes at once, we're looking at breaking it up and making it individual to teams or to different age groups. So we're really coming up with a multifaceted program, and that's what we're currently working on. And I've never had a staff before, and this is kind of fun, getting all of these minds in the room and coming up with good ideas. I've told them, doesn't matter how mad it is, just spit it out there and let's see. So I'm having fun with that.
Right, and now you also do Athletes Perform Better with the Performance Institute. You can find yourself there, and then this thing has grown to see here, Appalachian State, Elon, Western Carolina, even the University of South Carolina, even the Chickens are doing it.
They had me, well, actually, all of those universities that you see, they had me come in to speak on nutrition and performance. Mm-hmm. But now, most universities, I brought some stats in that, most universities now have hired a sports nutritionist. So I'm not traveling as much speaking, which I really hate because I love to speak. So I'm going to have to find a new topic that they're going to just feel that they need to bring me in for. But yeah, that was kind of fun going around all of those universities and meeting the student athletes and coaches. But yeah, it was kind of fun the time I went in to talk to South Carolina.
Right. Well, before we let you get out of this afternoon, I know you sent me your top 5 songs. You had some good lists: Stevie Wonder, Al Green, Michael Jackson. That's a pretty good list. We've got a little R&B theme going for Valentine's Day here. But thanks for all the work you do with Clemson Associate, being the Clemson Associate Athletic Director for all our student athletes. I mean, behind the scenes, don't really get the credit you deserve. And, it couldn't be possible to get those athletes in the shape they need to be in. When you see at that Georgia game when there was 85,000 people there, what you guys do behind the scenes is unbelievable. And I guess where people can find you, and if they want some nutrition advice and things like that, tell the listeners about that too, I guess.
Well, you can find me. I actually have a couple of hats. The Athletes Perform Better is my own business, which I really don't have that much time to work with anymore. But you can follow me on Twitter, and you will have lots of good advice on nutrition and exercise. And that's an easy way to get a hold of me. And my office is in McFadden, if you ever want to come by and talk about what we do with the student athletes. And, we don't really need credit. It's all about the student athlete. And when they do well, that's what's most important.
But I think that means a lot to them, and it means a lot when they see the students out there. But Dr. Jackson, have a great rest of your Valentine's Day afternoon, and we really appreciate you coming in the studio with us, and we'll definitely have you on back again soon. And keep up the great work you do for Clemson, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks again. That's Dr. Loreto Jackson from Clemson Associate Athletic.